Hey guys, I wanted to do a video about the third episode of The Mandalorian, and oh my gosh, I love this episode so much. This is my favorite episode so far. It is so fantastic. I have so many thoughts, so many questions, so many theories. There are spoilers in this video, so if you guys have not watched it, don't watch this video if you don't want spoilers, because there's a lot I'm going to talk about, because a lot of cool, amazing things happen in this episode. So, like I said before in my other video about The Mandalorian, there is so much that ties into things that happened in Rebels and that has happened in Clone Wars. And I have questions because in this episode, the Mandalorians talk about how they're living in the shadows. And it's mentioned by one of the characters that they haven't seen a Mandalorian, so I'm getting this impression that Mandalorians are hardly seen. So I'm wondering what has happened after Rebels. The Mandalorians talk about how they're in hiding, and in the ending of Rebels, the Mandalorians united together to fight against the Empire, and that tied back to that in this episode when they talked about how they hated the Empire in this Mandalorian episode. And I talked about this in my previous videos when Rebels had ended. I talked about how we didn't know what happened to the Mandalorians after the war ended. We saw Bo-Katan, we saw her with the Darksaber. We knew that they fought alongside the rebellion, but we didn't know what happened to them. And so I'm wondering what happened to Bo-Katan, because I feel like something has happened that caused them to split, or because the Mandalorians have been scattered. They have been scattered throughout the Star Wars storylines, especially after Satine was killed. But I'm just wondering what has happened in this gap of time that Mandalorians are rare. Because before, people saw Mandalorians. Like, it wasn't like they were hiding. And so I feel like that, to me, I feel like is even more of a hint that Rey's a Mandalorian. If Mandalorians are rare and they're in hiding, that just, to me, would make sense. And like I've mentioned several times, if she is Obi-Wan's granddaughter, Obi-Wan had a love affair with Satine, and she was the Mandalorian queen. So that'd make Rey a Mandalorian. So I feel like the Mandalorians are in hiding, like, that would just make sense. Like, and if people haven't really seen them and they're considered rare at this point, and like I mentioned before, we don't know what has happened to Bo-Katan after Rebels. We just see them fight. We see Sabine go off of Ahsoka, but I really want to watch the ending of Rebels again to see if there are some clues and some tie-ins with this. But I feel like at the ending of Rebels, it's post-Empire. They've won, but I don't think they give a specific time of how long it's been. Like, I don't think they say it's been this, time has passed, like a good amount of time has passed, because you see Hera's kid, but it doesn't really give like a specific, I don't remember it giving it a specific time, like how many years it's been since they defeated the Empire. And there's a very good chance that Bo-Katan could show up in this show. That would make a lot of sense. That would be really cool. So some things that stood out to me and that I loved. So I absolutely loved seeing the Mandalorians fighting together, floating in the air on screen. There was a scene very similar to that in Rebels, and so it was really cool to see it like a live action sequence, and I've always have wanted that. I love the Mandalorians. They're one of my absolute favorite parts of Star Wars are the Mandalorians, and they are very connected to the Jedi and the Force. I've talked about that in my other videos, but so it was really cool to see them all like hovering in the air, fighting together. Like, that was like so cool for me as a fan. And in my past videos, when Rebels was on and when Rebels ended, I talked about how I thought that the Mandalorians could show up in episode 9 and how it would be really cool to see them fighting together live on screen. And so I feel like the fact that we also have seen this now, I feel like that's even more of a good chance. like a high that gives me a lot of hope, because now we've seen they're showing them fight live on live screen, like live. And so that makes me believe even more that they're going to be in episode 9 fighting, because we've seen them fighting. They're showing people the Mandalorians fighting on screen, on live screen, like, live, not just animated. And I knew he was not going to give up Baby Yoda. My mom was so worried that he was going to turn over Baby Yoda. And my family, we're a Star Wars family. And I was like, no, this is Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. They are not about to give up. He is not going to give up Baby Yoda. I said, if he gives up Baby Yoda, he's going to go back. There'll be a shootout. Like, I've seen Rebels. I know how Dave works. Like, I know how the style of Dave Filoni has worked. And I'm like, there'll be a shootout. He'll go back and get him. He'll do the right thing. He's not about to abandon Baby Yoda. He's gonna say Baby Yoda. And oh my gosh, Baby Yoda is so cute. I want to adopt a Baby Yoda. I want to adopt a Baby Yoda so bad. Like, when his ears move, it's the cutest thing. And he had like the saddest little look on his face when he's being brought in. I was like, oh, Baby Yoda. But I knew it was all going to be okay. Like, I knew he's going to go back and get him because, one, he has a Force connection with Baby Yoda. Mandalorians have Force connections with Force sensitives. And he lost his parents as a child. And Mandalorians do have a code of honor. They're warrior people. And this episode really tied in with the First Order. And in the newest Star Wars Battlefront game, they talk about how the First Order has been kidnapping children. And in the ending of Rebels, Thrawn talks to Ezra, and he talks about how if the Force could be studied and wielded into power. And Ezra says to Thrawn that the Force is not that, and he says basically what Yoda and the other Jedi characters have said, that the Force is something that is in all living beings, and that it's not something that you can just control like in a box, basically. And he says, but you'll never understand that. Like, you'll never understand the deeper connection and meaning of the Force. And that made me think, I thought about that when they were studying Baby Yoda. And if people really don't know about the Force at this point, that would make sense that they're kind of doing like scientific studying on Baby Yoda. There were so many badass scenes, so many kick-ass fight scenes in this episode. It was great. Another thing that I loved was the mention of the New Republic. And when the Mandalorian says that's a joke, I love that because it ties into the book Bloodline. And that's about the New Republic, and it's about Leia being involved in the New Republic. And the New Republic is corrupt. Like, it seems like republics can never be, like, they can never go right in Star Wars, but they are corrupt. They turn on Leia. Most of them turn on Leia. So I love all these tie-ins, all these references, and it just feels like it's all leading up to episode 9. Like, all these little mentions and these things are leading up to episode 9. They're going to tie in with episode 9. So I love the fact that it's connecting everything. It's connecting Clone Wars. It's connecting Rebels. It's connecting the movies, especially in this episode. It's connecting all the storylines of the Mandalorians. And just being a Mandalorian fan, like just being a fan of the Mandalorians, this episode has everything a Mandalorian lover would be so happy about. Like, and like everything, the fighting, just the fight scenes, the way the Mandalorians act, the way they act with each other, the way they fight together, it just has everything. If you love the Mandalorians, this episode especially has got it all. So, one of my questions is, what has happened to the other Mandalorian clans, the houses, the other Mandalorian tribes? And something that I'm wondering, a theory I have, is that the Mandalorians are going to be the people that hide the Force-sensitive children, because in Rebels, and I talked about this, the Inquisitors tried to kidnap these Force-sensitive kids, and Ahsoka talks to Kanan and the other characters about how the Jedi once protected the Force-sensitive children, but without the Jedi, there's no one to protect them. And Kanan, I think it's Kanan, he says, well, I guess it's up to us. I guess it's our job now to protect the Force-sensitive children. So I wonder, with the Mandalorian saving Baby Yoda, if the Mandalorians are going to be the ones that help protect the Force-sensitive kids or help hide them. Maybe they help Ahsoka and the other characters from Rebels keep the kids safe and hidden. And after Rebels, we don't know what has happened to Ahsoka. We know she's alive. We know she goes off Sabine to find Ezra, but that's it. And obviously a lot has happened. So I could easily see the Mandalorians helping them hide the kids. And Sabine is a Mandalorian. So overall, fantastic episode. Great action, great fight scenes. I'm so excited for the future episodes. Like, I've been loving this show, but this episode especially has got me so excited for the future episodes coming up. If you guys enjoyed this video, please like it. Please give it a big thumbs up and please subscribe. Thank you guys for watching my video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!